Welcome back, everyone. This is the Establishing Technology Footprints for the Advancement of Agribusinesses series of workshops targeted at the inhabitants in the Ahafo region of Ghana. And my name is Efia Owusu-Fofie, and I am the founder of Coders Who Travel. We are a US-based 501c3 nonprofit organization with a vision to inspire and advance the careers of computer and mathematical programmers in less developed regions of the world. Our mission is to deliver project-based knowledge, world-class work experience, and career-defining professional communities. Our scope is on both underserved communities in advanced countries, as well as emerging regions in developing countries like Ghana. With me are our partners, Kobe Amwa-Mensah, representing the Amen Foundation, and Carla Villalobos, representing Microsoft. Carla, do you want to give some, comments?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. If you're just now joining us, my name is Carla Villalobos. I am a community development specialist at Microsoft. I've been with the company for about 5 years, and a lot of my work is centered around education. I work on a team that focuses on providing virtual education to the underserved communities. So a lot of our programs are virtualized, and we do this locally, nationally, and globally. We also connect with nonprofits and help them get set up through our Microsoft Give program, and that program provides volunteering, match and volunteering hours. Sorry about that, and donations. And we connect them with philanthropies to obtain software grants and special pricing for the devices. And I'm very, very grateful to be here, to be providing support for Afia and Coders Who Travel and this amazing, initiative. So thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Leslie, if you can hear me, if you can unmute yourself, it does look like the panel discussion, it's already ongoing on ground because of the language barrier and the need of the students to return back to school. But Bright, if you can hear me, can you tell Leslie to take himself off of mute? Hello? Let me give Nabia a call. Hey, Nabia. I think I understand the situation better now. Can Leslie come off mute or something? Because we are not able to hear anything in the panel discussions that is going on. Okay, thank you. So I have no idea where they've reached. Can you guys hear us? All right, this is really testing me. I'm going to put them back on mute. Yes. And Carla, I think we're going to try and have a conversation about some of the questions. So we have the online component also ongoing. Okay. Hello?
Yes.
We are now getting into the panel discussions. I actually don't think it's a good idea listening in like I thought. So we'll have a conversation, Carla, you and I, because it seems the other panels had to adjust to the students. Share my screen. So had we a panel, what are great agribusiness initiatives? I will start the conversation by saying we learned a lot from the presentation from Andrea Karapilis from Italy about what could be good agribusiness initiatives, right? Yes. But I know from speaking with Kobe, what he said was that for this region, timber, cocoa, and plantains are the good agribusiness initiatives there. The second question we have here is, what's your experience as an employee? And Carla, I think this is something you can take on.
Yeah, no, and that's a great question for those students that are currently transitioning into the workforce or are preparing themselves through college. My experience in the workforce as an employee has been challenging at times. But it has also been very rewarding. I've been a business owner before in my past, but as an employee, you get to work with other people. You get to network. You get to learn so many skills on the job. And if you get to work with a company that allows you to build on those skills, to shadow others, to network, to join groups, learning sessions through your company, that is, the best use of your time. And so that has been my experience with Microsoft. With Microsoft, I've been able to join on different employee resources groups, which is very, very helpful because you get to learn from your peers. You get to work with individuals that share the same passion or even want to help you move to the next level or can connect you to that person that is going to get you to that next level. So for the most part, it has, amazing experience. Now, when I did first join the workforce as an employee in my teenage years, it was challenging. I didn't have any skills. I didn't know anybody. I pretty much did not have a roadmap or somebody that could help me, someone like a mentor. So it was a little bit challenging. So my only advice for the youth that is joining the workforce is find that one person that is going to push you, whether it's at work or outside of work, and is going to encourage you, or even somebody in that field. So I am in the community development field, which is mainly just, giving back, providing, making connections with other individuals that are like-minded. So what I've done at work is I've connected myself with a lot of people that are like-minded, that are going to give me ideas, that have already walked down the path that I want to walk down. And those people have been such a huge help for my career, for the passion that I have for community, for giving back, for just serving, just having that heart of servitude. So yeah, just find yourself that one person that is really going to push you, but remain focused and keep learning. So that has been my experience. Just learn, just a lot of learning, a lot of connections, and yeah.
Thank you. That was a very wholesome answer. The next question we have is, what's your experience as an entrepreneur? I'm going to take a shot at that. So in June 2014, I attended an event by a data science community in the Washington, D.C. area, and it required me to sign up on an app called Meetup to RSVP. And so I did that, attended the event, came home, and either that night or a few days later, I got the prompt to join. It was suggesting that I should join an organization called Women Who Code. So I did sign up because I was a senior programmer analyst too at a think tank called Mathematical Policy Research at the time. And I said to myself, I'm a woman who codes, so I'm going to check out this organization. So I did, and visited them at the Martin Luther King Library in Washington, D.C. And upon walking in there, I saw a group of women teaching each other programming in an informal setting. And immediately I had an emotional reaction because I felt like, oh, I wish I had something similar when I was growing up in Ghana. So that week, I reached out to the headquarters and said, do you have a branch in Ghana? And they said no. And 11 months later, I traveled to Ghana and launched the first West African network for the organization. I met a wonderful group of women and a few good men, I called them, who supported the program. But when I came back, the organization, for lack of a better set of reasons, were not willing to reimburse my expenses for the work. And we later found out, together with an attorney friend of mine, that they were a young organization and probably weren't in the position to do so. So my friend Anthony was like, so what are you going to do? And for the next 3 months, I had to sponsor the network self-financially, right? Because our network in Accra or in the Ahafo region has its own unique challenges that are different from networks that are based in San Francisco or Sydney or London or Berlin, because in those advanced societies, corporate sponsors move in and really believe in leveling the playing field for women in tech. So because I became the sponsor, the sole sponsor for a long time, my friend who's the attorney was like, you should start your own organization. And I'm going to help you do that. And that was when the dream of Coders Who Travel was born, to enable people like me to travel to rural areas and developing nation cities, and even underserved communities in advanced countries. But for someone to absorb the cost, the organization to absorb the cost of that travel, so that more good can be done. And it's one of the dreams of Coders Who Travel coming true, where 6 of our members from Ghana's capital have selflessly decided to travel for almost 10, 11 hours to get to this region and to impart these technology skills. So that's been my experience as an entrepreneur. Mine was finding myself in a fix and wanting to create a solution, and that birthed me as an entrepreneur. The next question is, what's your experience as both an employee and an entrepreneur? So I'd like to tackle that, and I'm glad that Carla also has some entrepreneurship background, so she can also speak to this. But I've come to a point where I believe that whether you're an employee or you are an entrepreneur or both, they're all important equally, right? Because when you're an employee, and Carla touched on this, you really have a structured role, but you are also planted in a great community of people who become your co-workers, and they are your knowledge base. For anything that you do not understand, you can always find someone in a company to help you tackle that problem. Obviously, before you go to your co-workers, you should have done your own research on Google or maybe the intranet at your company, so that it's not like, have you searched Google or have you searched the intranet? And then you're like, I have not. So you should do that before you go to your co-workers or friends at work. The entrepreneurship is also very important because it allows folks to solve challenges at the grassroots level that sometimes companies or bigger companies aren't ready to play on that level yet. Being an entrepreneur, I know that a lot of people, donors, want to see if you have skin in the game. And by that, they mean, have you been operating for at least 3 years? What are some numbers on your operations? Like, Rachel was sharing with the LinkedIn, who's interested in your company and whatnot. And the entrepreneur has to really stand in the gap for all those beginning years and believe in the dream and tend the dream for it to mature to the point where people want to invest or donate to the organization. And so both are equally important. And I think in the future, or even right now, working hand in hand with employees working for established companies versus individuals, inspiring people in their community on smaller scales, I think would be the way to go. And so if you are here, we are not saying go quit your job to become an entrepreneur. That's not what we are saying. And if you're an entrepreneur, we are not saying become an employee. That's not what we are saying. We're saying what we are trying to communicate is that depending on your personality and your strengths and your weaknesses, either option can be great for you, but determine where you want to have impact. And sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you can be an island unto yourself because you don't have that network. But certainly you can join other clubs and other organizations within your locality to get some networking going on. Usually they have chambers of commerce, particularly in the US. I don't know the Ghana equivalent, but there are clubs that you have to actively join to build your networking and your relationships as an entrepreneur. Carla, do you have something to add?
Yeah, and no, I'm glad that you touched on that, on the commonalities at the beginning, because the commonality is people networking. So both whether or not you're an employee or you are a business owner, that's going to be the common factor of whether or not you become successful. And also another thing is your passion. Whether or not you're in a business, you're working for an employer, or you are in business on your own, is that your passion? Gary touched on this earlier and it stuck to me. The one question that he asked entrepreneurs or people that wanted to start their own business, he asked, why do you want to start your own business? And one of the common answers was, because I want to make money. And I'll be honest with you, when I was in real estate, that was my response. I just want to make money. That's all I want to do. That's all I really want to do. And And sadly, it didn't work out for me, but I also realized that that was not my passion. My passion is helping people. And yes, in real estate, you do help people out, but I didn't want, I had to go through trial and error and some failures to understand that that was not the way I wanted to help people. So the one question that I would recommend the students asking themselves is, what is your passion? Is it aligned with what you're currently doing right now, or what your goals are? What are and also ask yourself what are really your goals? And the money obviously, you know, we all need to eat, we all need to, you know, pay our bills. You know, money should be a given, but that should not be the driving force. The driving force should be, what is your passion? And I am so thankful and grateful that I am in a company that allows me to do what I want to, what I love to do. And that is really helping people, really helping build skills for students, and just helping the underserved. So I'm very fortunate. So that has been my experience for with both. And now I'm not saying that I would not consider becoming a business owner, but now I have a little bit more clarity as to what questions I would ask myself before starting a business. And those are very, very important questions. You know, what is your passion? Is it aligned with what you want to do? Because truly, that is the only way that you'll have that sense of satisfaction, that sense of satisfaction of what you've accomplished. So yeah.
Yeah, that was great. It reminds me of, your comments reminded me of an advice one entrepreneur gave me, and she said, some people want to start their own business because they don't like people they are working with. And that is a bad way to judge if you are going to be a good business owner, because guess what? You deal with a whole lot more of people when you own a business. So that is not the reason to start your business, that you don't like people. That's not gonna work. And so your comments triggered that you know, we really do need people, whether we are an employee or we are an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Afia, but I'm certain that you, in your experience as an entrepreneur, it starts with you and it ends with you. So if something falls in the cracks, you are responsible for picking.
You are.
Yeah, it's your responsibility.
And you have to be the most hardworking, or else it won't work when you own your own business. It just wouldn't work. You know, at work, you can go and check in from your 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then have your peace of mind and sleep. But when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have that luxury of just checking out.
No, that's the common misconception, right?
Yeah. It's like the business is always running, and particularly if you have international aspects, these days, on nights that I determine that I'll have a good night's sleep, I put my phones away from me, because I'm usually interacting with people from Ghana, and they are ahead by 4 hours or 5 hours, depending on the season. And my phone will start blowing up with WhatsApp messages and calls. So I'm like, tonight, if I want to have a good sleep, please, the phones can't be near me, you know. So, and then one thing too that I wasn't prepared for when I first became an entrepreneur was just the sheer number of hats you have to wear. Like, you have to be the administrator, you have to be the phone recipient or phone caller at the end of the line, so that my skill sets when I give my time to companies is doing data analysis with SAS and data visualizations with Tableau. And that's all I need to focus on when I'm working for a company, but not with coders who travel. So many things you have to do. And so that was an eye opener when I first became an entrepreneur that I hadn't planned on.
Yeah, because you have nobody else to look at.
No.
Who else? No. Who else are you gonna look at?
And you have to know all the questions too, for everything, because you are the source of answers that everybody wants. So, yeah.
And I think that, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's a huge, that's a big reality check. And it's great for those young entrepreneurs, those students that are considering starting their own business. That is a huge fact that this is your business. It's your business, so you are responsible. And if you're really not passionate about it, just ask yourself, is this something that I want to do for the rest of my life? Do I want to incorporate this into my life? Because I'm pretty sure that you wake up and you live, breathe coders who travel. You wake up, that's top of mind for you. And it's almost like it's part of your life. Like you said, you can't just clock in and you can't just clock out, so this is a passion for you. And I'm sure that you enjoy it. I know that there's a hardship sometimes, because, sometimes we're all human. You may be tired, right. But this is something that's fulfilling to you. It's something that you want to do. So yeah, that's a huge reality check. Like, you can't just turn it off.
Yeah, you just can't. Now, recently, it's a good segue. One of Ghana's finance ministers, I believe, said that the government payroll is full, and so all those looking for jobs should become entrepreneurs. And I don't want to be political, so I won't even mention his parties, but yes, it sounds great on the surface, but I was feeling like it takes a lot to become an entrepreneur. Yeah. Like, you can't just really come out of school and become an entrepreneur without any training, without any capital, without a mentor to teach you the ropes, So some people thought he was being truthful, and I'm sure that is probably his intended message. But right now, a lot of people who are searching for job are a little despondent because of some of the communication coming from the highest level of network, because if you can't find a job easily, it makes sense to try something on your own, but you do need capital, you do need the network, and you do need mentors before you can be successful as an entrepreneur. All right.
And that's where these sessions are important, because you said something, it looks good on the surface, and a lot of what's on social media is you're just seeing what's on the surface. You're not seeing all the work that you had to go through, you had to do to get to that point, to even create a logo. There's work involved in all of that, but sadly our youth does not see that. Our youth sees like instant. So everything, even though we may not say it, but we think about it, we're living in an instant society where we think that, oh, things will instantly happen. But it's not like that, especially if you want to reach high goals and serve people. It's not that easy, but it is worthwhile.
Yeah, well said. All right, we have another question. In fact, we have several questions
Yeah.
that we're trying to tackle on behalf of the others while they do their job with the students.
Sure.
So why do you think technology is needed in agribusiness, in the agribusiness industry?
Oh, exposure. I mean, where do we live? We live here. Oh, sorry, right. I can't show my phone, but we live on our phones, right?
Right.
So, and I've seen a lot of the agricultural business, just like any other businesses, show up on social platforms, show up on commerce platforms, so commerce sites. It's so important. You need that exposure, and if you can find it for free, which a lot of it is free. It's just, you just have to know where to market. You have to do your research and really identify where people are landing. What sites are they mostly landing on? It is critical. Technology is critical. You know, the gentleman earlier, I believe it was Carl, was mentioning was it app building, but he was talking about like Internet of Everything, just having that connection, and data being important. And that's what it is. We're in the fourth stage of, he mentioned we're in the fourth stage of
fourth industrial revolution.
Yes, and it is data. It's data. Yeah. That's where it is. Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, and I would even add to say that without technology in any industry, while it's not the end be all. For example, the example I like to give is I run a nonprofit and I'm constantly in need of donors for funding and volunteers who do the work and staff, right? Now, just because I put a donation link on my website page, which is the technology, doesn't mean that I'm going to get donors if there aren't any underlying relationship building happening to take advantage of that technology. So the technology brings the convenience to do it. I don't need to chase their checks or anything. They can just go on the website and they can just send me a donation. However, it does not replace the hard work of still doing the business, you know? So if I have plantains that I need to get a certain quantity and supply it to my customers, even with technology, I'll still be doing that work. But what the technology can help is you can call your customers and say, hey, are you going to be in market today for these plantains or not? And, you know, maybe have an app that, you know, feeds you maybe competitive prices of other plantain sellers and be able to price your plantains better. Those are some of the ways. It brings convenience. It brings you in touch with information that you may otherwise not have. But let's always remember that it doesn't take away the hard work of actually doing what is required for the business to succeed.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah. So in your view, will the current shift to working remotely in the working experience of employees persist?
Will the current shift in...
You know how everyone is working remotely?
Yes.
Because of COVID?
Yeah.
And that has led to a shift in the working experience of employees. And so I guess the question is trying to ask, do you think this will persist?
I'll be honest with you. I think that I think there'll come a time where we will eventually go back to work, but we won't be required to be there 100% of the time. But Again, data is very important. So I'm pretty sure that there will be studies or analysis on what, how much productivity comes from working from home. I'll be honest with you. I found myself working a lot more now, working from home than going into the office. You mentioned something, you said, we clock in, we clock out 9 to 5. Yes, that is true when you go back to work, but when you're working from home, it's different. Your work is right there. It's almost as you can't, you can't escape it. You can't escape it. So I do think that eventually we will go back to the office, but I don't believe that it'll be required 100% of our shift, our time. What about you?
I think the future will be a hybrid of working from home and in person, because companies realized huge savings from their overhead cost when we were working from home during the pandemic. And because of that, having realized those savings, which translates into more profit for them, I think they would appreciate people working from home. And another thing too is, before, everybody felt like if you work from home, you wouldn't do the work, which is why everybody required us to be 100% in physical buildings to make sure we were working. But I think humanity has proved them wrong, that during the pandemic, people actually work. I know my company that I work for, Deloitte, has actually made a lot of revenue. They did positively well, given the pandemic, even with the pandemic, right? And so if people work just as hard as they do when they are in office buildings versus when they are home, and you can also realize savings on your overhead in addition to that, then I think the deal will be hybrid. And then also there's pushback from employees, because now we know that, is it really necessary to commute 1.5 hours or 1 hour just to get to my desk?
No.
When I could have worked 1 hour or 1.5 hours already?
Yeah.
Some even work in their pajamas, although we realized from a training that we're not supposed to do that. In the master working from home session on October 23rd is what I'm referencing. So there's now pushback where people are asking to work from home than they did previously, because of all these associated realizations or discoveries we found during the pandemic. And so I think it will be a hybrid version for the future, because that would be a good compromise between both options.
I agree.
How can entrepreneurs tap into the new working remotely experience? I think working remotely has its pluses that we just went over, but sometimes you feel like you're losing the human connection, because virtual environments on Zoom, while great and definitely allows us to have a cross-country experience or cross-boundary experience, it still is not human touch, right? But the benefits of the remote version is that entrepreneurs can now access many conferences and networking events remotely, because they're all being held online. Some of them are starting to come back in person, but even with those ones, they offer virtual components as options to participate in those events. And so I think that's how they can tap into, going into the influencers in the industry and finding people to follow in that industry and knowing what events they attend and also attending virtually could be a great path for entrepreneurs. What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. I know that there were a few people in the audience that were invited, and I'm glad that I joined today's session. I'm glad that I'm here because through this event, through this virtual event, through this working from home, because today I am working from home, it connected me to somebody else that I could have a relationship with, that I could have a partnership with. So this is huge for entrepreneurs, especially for entrepreneurs that are trying to expand globally. I mean, we're connected to people in Ghana right now. We're connected globally right now. So it's perfect. It's perfect for an entrepreneur that's really trying to get that exposure. So yeah, virtual events are huge. Virtual events are huge. Networking is huge. That should be like an everyday, or it shouldn't be an oversight for an entrepreneur. It should be something that they should incorporate in their, business plans and meetings, So yeah, it's great.
Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
How can entrepreneurs partner with employees towards achieving their goals and vision?
Towards achieving their goals and vision. Mm.
And I'm beginning to see that there's El Hayil on the call and Angela. I'm gonna, if we run out of conversation, you guys will bail us out, okay?
Sure, we will.
Yes. Right. How can entrepreneurs partner with employees towards achieving their goals and their visions? Well, entrepreneurs should have connections, and they should have the resources to help employees achieve those goals. So just connecting their employees with the right people, with the right resources. I think that's how they can help them achieve their goals and their vision.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing I realize is that because of the pull in different directions when you're an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. sometimes if you're not careful, you won't be disciplined to give more time to the areas of the business that needs to be worked on, as opposed to just putting out the fires. Because yeah, today marketing, today administrative, today legal, today that, and you're like, let me fix this, let me fix that, let me put out that fire. But are you really working on the metrics that is moving your organization further? And I think sometimes the answer is frequently no for entrepreneurs. For employees, they are quite advanced because they don't have to put out the fires in all the different hats. Your role is defined, you're disciplined towards what you need to do. And so I think entrepreneurs can partner with employees by learning how to be disciplined and working on what needs to be done, with the highest priority versus being pulled in different directions. And then also, one thing is when you are an entrepreneur, you tend to call the shots, right? So sometimes instead of having someone query you about your stuff, it can be very much you shoving down what you think is right towards everybody, and you're not really in that synergy of a feedback loop. you know, as you would hope, because maybe everybody thinks, oh, she's the boss, so let me do it her way, you know. But I find myself that when I'm an employee, as I am now, I get a lot of that feedback loop, and I'm not left on my own to be like the boss who is the source of all the great ideas. So partnering employees also shares those insights. And then when you're an employee, you don't get to be too picky and choosy about what you would like to work on. It's like your supervisor tells you what to do and sets the goals, and then you have to hit the targets, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're an entrepreneur, you may or may not do that, you know, because you will pick and choose what you want to do first. And so certainly entrepreneurs learning the discipline of employees and, you know, the sensitivity to take feedback from superiors will really help them achieve their goals. An example is, you know, like for me, I'm such a doer, okay? If I want to do something, I can make it happen most cases. But will I draw all the plans and align it with the different dates and the time just to get to that goal? It depends if I'm an entrepreneur or an employee. If I'm an employee, yes, I have to put down the plan and put the timelines and the dates and whatnot to convince everybody that this will be the plan that will move us from A to B, right? But when you're an entrepreneur, you can get away with that. You can just say, we're going to do it, and this is the little number of steps we are going to go through to do it, but we don't need all those gallant designs all about the planning before the event even starts. So I think that's something that maybe employees can also learn from entrepreneurs, you know, that they are very action oriented instead of a lot of plans just to get to the action, you know. So I think that's fair.
That's a good trait to have, to be a doer.
Yes, I've come to that point. I've matured into that point.
Yeah, no, my boss, she's great. She always encourages us, and sometimes she's tough on us, but she always says, you know, don't wait for everything to be perfect. Sometimes you just have to do it. Sometimes you just have to do it. And that's that entrepreneurship mindset, is that it's got to get done. If you don't show up, who else is going to show up?
Exactly.
So yeah, as an entrepreneur, I think you have to have that mindset that you have to act, you have to do actions. And, you know, I know it's cliche, but actions do speak louder than words.
Yeah. Okay. The next question is, how can technology make an impact in the agribusiness industry? Angela, I'm going to call on you and Hayil, because I think Carla and I sort of touched on that already. But if you can add your thoughts, that would be great. You can come off mute if you...
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I pretty much agree with what you had shared already, that technology tends to make things easier. And then you find that, especially in these days when maybe it's so hard for beginning entrepreneurs to get capital, right? Using technology can help to reduce your costs as a new business owner. So I think that's one of the ways that you can really, really make use of technology, because you'd find that, for instance, the day that WhatsApp and like the Facebook and then its affiliates went off, a lot of entrepreneurs lost money.
Mm-hmm. Because
Yes,
it wasn't
because
live
then
for them.
yes,
They couldn't
they
reach their
use their
customers.
social, yes, to reach their customers. And then in terms of even your accounting, right, it's very easy for you to maybe make use of Excel or some other software to keep your accounts. There are even apps that can help you to manage your accounts as an entrepreneur, so that you probably don't have to, maybe you're not in a position to hire an accountant, but at least you can keep some kind of accounts for yourself. It's easy for you to hire others. So then in terms of reducing your HR costs, your recruitment and other things, perhaps you don't have an office, but because of technology, you can still have your meetings and other things without necessarily having to invest in an office and then all the rent and the other associated costs that come with it. So lots of different ways that technology can help entrepreneurs to reduce their costs, do business, and then generally even be very efficient, like, about their business. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Angie. Hayu, do you have something? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, just getting to the end, Angie mentioned something about efficiency, and just reminded me of a lot of work that people are doing, especially with building equipment, engineering stuff to help improve productivity outcomes, especially for farmers in different areas, especially using robotics to like monitor, like for instance, soil, moisture and all of that, those things to just help boost outcomes, especially for farmers. I mean, even with processing raw materials and all of that, technology has a big role to play in making all these things more efficient. And in the end, like Angela mentioned, in making things easy, and also there's that added, let me say, profit in the work they put in.
Thank you. Thank you, Hayu. All right, so the next question is, can you share some advice on ensuring technological initiatives meet the needs of the industry? That's a compound question. Still trying to process that.
Advice on ensuring technological initiatives.
I guess they're trying to say you can launch technology initiatives that would not be meeting the industry needs of agribusiness. But I just cannot see how that will happen, you know?
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so from like coming with like from an engineering perspective or background, one of the things that is really hashed upon in developing products is really understanding the need of the people you're developing stuff for. And a lot of the time, sometimes we see technological advancements that do not necessarily meet specific needs. It becomes like what we call feature creep, where people think, oh, this would be good to add, this would be good to add, but it never really does something for the people who eventually use it. And so I guess being very clear on the need of your target can make it easier to, like, it can ensure that the industry gets what they want out of the technology you're putting out there.
Yeah, excellent, Hayu. It even reminds me of a training I sat in at work, where they have a picture of the supervisor having a conversation with a client, and her subordinates sort of eavesdropping on what is happening in the conversation behind a door. And the client asks that, oh, can you just add this extra deliverable? And the supervisor says, yes. And then the people listening through, eavesdropping through the door are going crazy because already they have a lot of things to do. And what their manager just said yes to is going to compound their schedules. And so they talked about that feature creep, that you don't just accept, the requests from clients without looping in your team and really going through how that would add on to your duties before going through that exercise. So thanks for sharing. That triggered my memory. So I guess we have to be careful that not just launching technology initiatives, but wouldn't meet the needs of the industry. All right, moving on to the next slide. Do we have employees who are working also as entrepreneurs? Yes. I think Angela too, right? Yeah, I think Angela too, but anyway, she's on mute. How well are employees working as entrepreneurs doing? It's a lot on your plate to do both, because your job pulls you in one direction and the entrepreneurship pulls you in another direction. So for me, I'm trying so much that within Deloitte, we are supposed to have firm initiative requirements where you give back to a nonprofit or you work internally for a firm project. So I'm working so hard to make Coders Who Travel one of the firm initiatives, but I've been back since I left the company previously for just under a year, and it takes time, so I wanted to get to a point where when I'm working on Coders Who Travel, I can charge a code internally at Deloitte supporting that effort. And then I wouldn't have to be a training facilitator just to check my box of firm initiative or some other initiatives that Coders Who Travel can replace that. It's very good to also prioritize. And for me, my priority is my pay job because that keeps paying my bills and it keeps the light on. Somebody has said that try not putting on the lights on and try solving the world's best challenges. It's not gonna work. If you're not paying your bills, you can't solve the world's challenges, okay? So do a good job at work and then reserve some of that passion for your side hustle is the way to go, and not the reverse. I know some motivational speakers go hard after having a job and how that is killing you and is draining you from doing what you were born to do and meant to do. Mm-hmm. I disagree. I think somebody who puts it best is Lisa Nichols, that at best, your job is your investor. They give you the money to pay your bills and they give you the money to invest in your grander ideas. And so at no point should you consider them to be the problem. They are not the problem. And in fact, all those, I'm not going to use all, but some of these speakers who advise people to quit their job, I've attended some of their sessions. They never give you $1 to invest in your ideas. They will have their books. You probably pay for parking when you get there, and you probably pay for lunch also. And all of that feeds and funds their ideas. And then they turn around and criticize the job that gave you the money to actually attend their event, So it's like some of them are eating their cake and having it. And so that is not the message we are sending in Coders Who Travel at all. We encourage you to be an employee first. And if you have more reserves, fund your dream ideas. And if you ever want to quit your job, you need to evaluate whether the money coming from your entrepreneurial ventures is at the same level as your paid income. And I think at that point, you can definitely consider quitting your job if you are making an income higher than what you are being paid at your job. But even with that, I'm skeptical about quitting your main job. Because what if you quit and your entrepreneurial venture just did well for 2 years? Then it's like you short-circuited yourself. So hold on to your job, do diligent work. The job gives you a network, and the more you get good recommendations from work, the more people start asking you, so what do you do in your personal life? And when they find out, they're like, how can I help and be involved? This is exciting. So it's really a cornerstone, and I just want to iterate that.
No, and also something to consider with employers. You have benefits, whether or not that's educational benefits or insurance. You have all of that. When when you're working for somebody as an entrepreneur, those are things that you have to consider getting on your own. If you become a full-time entrepreneur, that's something that you have to provide. You don't have anybody else to provide that. That's all on you. So yeah, it's a good point to keep your job, especially if it's providing you with the income that you need to run your business, whether or not it's a for-profit or nonprofit. So
excellent point. Benefits are a big deal, particularly when it comes to future retirement benefits. Most entrepreneurs are barely making it day by day to even consider their future retirement, and the paid job gives you that and more, including tuition benefits. So great addition. How is your experience as a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, and being a student like? Well, I've not been in that position. So I give back to women who code Accra, so I guess I can be a philanthropist in that regard, an entrepreneur with coders who travel. But I never combined all three when I was a student, so I think I'm going to skip this question unless Carla has done something like that.
No.
Angie and El Hayu, can you bail us out or no? You're on mute.
Sorry. Hello.
Hello.
I don't think I've been a full entrepreneur.
Okay.
Before, in terms of starting an organization, right? But okay. I do a lot of volunteering, and then I've had to sometimes combine that with work and school. So
okay,
I'd say
why don't you give us the philanthropy and student experience?
Okay, so I'd say it's always, pardon?
And work experience, because you said you volunteer, you work, and then you are a student.
Yeah, so it's all three.
Okay.
So then, I think sometimes it's a bit of a balancing act. And sometimes you have to learn to say no, which can be very hard to do. Because then it's like you are doing all of these things because, one, you are interested in them, right? And maybe for school it's necessary, for work it's necessary too. But there are times that pressure might come from, there might be more pressure from one side, there may be more pressing needs. So I guess it's always learning what to prioritize, and like prioritizing that at that time, right? It's just it can be hard to do because of like there are times that the demands are competing, and then sometimes you may also need to be ready to ask for help, or be ready to say that, okay, at this time I'm unable to do X, Y, Z. Yeah, so those are the things that I have found out. So one, being able to prioritize, being able to ask for help when you need it, and then learning to say no. It's not always easy to do that, but those are the things that I have found working.
Thank you. Elha, you?
Yeah, I haven't had much experience on the philanthropy side, but having to volunteer for multiple things, just like Angie said, it's a balancing act, and being able to prioritize and saying those are very, very important. I was just going to have said like being able to schedule and have a plan for what you need to do at specific times, because whilst in school, your main priority is to be a student. And so then other things you have to be able to work those things around student life. But yeah, just like Angie said, it's a balancing act. It takes time, and I think it's a good thing to also consider that whole process a learning process, because in the future, you just get more efficient with time. And so being able to recognize some of those difficulties as a learning curve, it makes transitioning very easy.
Yeah, so I think what I hear you both saying is that if you're a student, your top priority is to be a student. So that should be your first priority, and then take advantage of opportunities that come in the form of volunteering. And, if you would like to start a business idea in school. The next question is, do you think student entrepreneurs can continue their activities as entrepreneurs whilst they have been employed after school? I don't see why not. And we don't have the expert in the room to talk about this. So I'll move on. Since none of us are student entrepreneurs, what advice can you give to the individuals who are yet to take the advice and couple both as an entrepreneur and as employees? I think for me, one thing I've learned is that research is good. Everybody says, do research, study the market of where you want to launch your business, and ask yourself these many questions and whatnot. They're all great, but if you're someone who gives up easily in the face of reality, I feel like you will talk yourself out of the entrepreneurial move the more you do it too much, because your head will be filled with the risk that is involved. And sometimes it's jumping in at the opportunity when it's hot that really makes an entrepreneur or not. So if there's an idea that you jump into, I'll say do some research. Arm yourself with some research, but don't arm yourself with an encyclopedia of all the research in the world about what you want to do, because if you do that, you are never going to start. You just aren't going to start. So my number one advice is arm yourself with some research and then take a leap of faith to work on that entrepreneurial dream.
I agree with that. Do the research, especially while you're young. Do that research, because a lot of adults get to our age and they've either made decisions to switch their jobs to something that pays a little bit more, but they're not happy at, or they've made decisions to start a business. Again, in my case, I started a business. I had my own real estate business, but I just wanted to make money. I wasn't happy, nor did I make that much money that that warranted, you know, doing real estate and also having another job. But yeah, do your research. Do your research real early too. And if it's, you know, and if it doesn't work out for you, you're still young. You can still, you know, pick it back up. Always, you know, don't think of it as failure. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep trying. But yeah, research is very, very important.
Thank you. And the question we have here is, now that you're done with school, you really do not know much about what it is to be in the industry, but are you sure that you can still work as an entrepreneur whilst being an employee? I think we've established that you can. And since the expert is not in the room, I'll move on. And the final question, how does partnering up to do events or collaborate with other entrepreneurs, employees, or organizations benefit you in your career or business, especially if the activities are non-paid? So Carla, over to you.
I can take that. So I do a lot of partnerships with other organizations or employees and schools, and all of these are non-paid, but I still continue to do them because they're so important to my self-development. They're important for my network and circle, and for exposure. I get to talk about the work that I do. I get to talk about the passion that I have, or the plans that I have for my career, or for future endeavors that I want to tap into. So it's a full circle. You get to connect with other people that have that same passion as you, and in turn, they can help you with connecting you with others, advice as well. And then also, in addition to that, because a lot of the non-paid activities may be volunteering, and volunteering is so important, and it's so important, not only for your yourself, because you get to, you know, you get to give back to the community. It does feel good to give back to the community, but this is also something that you can add to your LinkedIn profile. Earlier, I'm sorry if I forgot her name, but earlier in our LinkedIn presentation, the speaker mentioned that Rachel, okay, she mentioned that that it's important to add your volunteering time, the activities that you've been involved in, the projects that you've been involved in, even if they're non-paid, because employers are looking at this. Employers are looking to see what you're doing in addition to your work or your studies, who you're involved with, who you're connected with. Is the work that you're doing aligned with the career that you want to fall into? So all of that is very important. It's very important, and it's very needed for you to be a more well-rounded employee or entrepreneur. So I do a lot of these. I would encourage, if there's a volunteering opportunity, or if there is a speaking event, a networking event that is aligned with something that you're very interested in, or if you know individuals that will join that event that could help you in your career, please join them. I know it does not pay, but you have to think about the value of the experience, that connection that you could potentially make. So I would encourage you to just make those connections.
Yeah, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I would even add to what Carla is saying, that we would all not be here if my choices have been just guided by paid activities. There wouldn't be no Women Who Code Accra. There wouldn't be no coders who travel.
Oh.
And it's just a mindset. Some people think they have to be paid for their time for everything, you know. Mm-hmm. That's their position. But I heard it beautifully said by someone that you are not supposed to monetize all of your passion. You know, certainly there are some areas of your passion that you should be able to volunteer and in these non-paid activities. One thing that has blessed me with volunteering is it just helps you know who you are. Yeah, from a different source, because you are working in your area of passion. Please, if you are going to volunteer, don't volunteer in anything you are not interested in, because you have all of that at work. But if you're volunteering, make sure you are passionate about that. Okay, so assuming you're passionate about that, it allows you to know who you are, what you like, what you don't like. And of course, if you don't like volunteering, you can always stop, you know, without, with minimal effort. And for me, that feedback, that extra source of feedback that gives insights into who I am, that doesn't just rely on my paid employer relationship, is huge. You know, if I have to work on, let's say, a project, and in that manner, usually the feedback that I get is that I am a very detailed oriented person, but some people would like me to think about the bigger picture of things. And I hear that it's good feedback, that an area I should improve upon, learning the big picture thing. But I know that in Coders Who Travel, I do the big picture thing and the detailed oriented stuff, right? Because I'm forced to wear different hats in Coders Who Travel. So when I get that feedback, it doesn't make me discouraged or anything, because Coders Who Travel and Women Who Code Accra has given me insight into my leadership ability and big picture thinking, you know, that I need to have. And so that's how it complements what you get from your paid work. And I think it really complements your skill sets as well. I like people that volunteer, even if briefly, for like a month or 2 months, because it tells me your heart. You know, anybody who can give up their time and not charge you for their time or their resources. Look at all the experts who convened today. You know, we didn't even talk about money for any of them, but they're all here to make this an enriching process for the target audience that we are after. So volunteer, volunteer, and volunteer. And that will put us 10 minutes to our break. I think we've done a great job of answering all these questions. And so we can go for an early break and have an hour and 10-minute break. And we will convene here at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. And if you are in Ghana, that's 4 p.m. GMT. All right? So we are going for a break if you just join us for 1 hour, 10 minutes. And bye for now.
Okay. See you at 12.
Yeah, see you, Carla. See you, everyone.